Chapter 2. AJ thought about just not going. Melody had come down with a bad case of, I have to work the late shift, and he really didn't want to go alone. However, sitting at home all night on a Friday night didn't sound like much fun either. So he found himself pulling up next to a curb 2 houses down from the house that was streaming light from every window. October would soon fade to November, and the chill was already in the air. The light orange jersey he was wearing, although just right for a party, was a little cold for walking the streets, and he crossed his arms in front of him. At the door, he didn't even have to knock as 2 people came out the other way and pushed the door open for him to enter. Carefully, he stepped in, looking around for someone he recognized. Music poured out of the speakers in one corner, and the television babbled away in the other. Hey, look who made it, Dante said, stepping from the hallway, a drink in one hand and Eve's hand in the other. AJ, my man! He dropped Eve's hand and shook AJ's. Good to see you. Hey, how's it going? You're just in time. Jeff and Gabe broke out the pool sticks downstairs. Cool. Next to Dante, in his black sport jacket and white shirt, and Eve in a soft, flowing silver outfit that looked like it had been made exclusively for her graceful frame, AJ felt horribly underdressed. His hand went nervously to his backward black cap. Come on, Dante said, either not noticing or not caring. They've got a spread that you won't believe. AJ followed the 2 of them through the crowd, and for a moment he wondered how Eve wasn't absolutely freezing. From behind, he realized the blouse of her outfit had very little back to it, and it was held together only by a complex network of string. He relocated his gaze to the other partygoers. There were enough of them to hold his attention until they got to the dining room. These brownies are out of this world, Dante said, reaching for one and handing it to AJ. Here, you've got to try this. Never one to be self-conscious, AJ suddenly found himself swimming there as both gazes turned on him for his reaction. However, that thought evaporated when he put the creamy, rich pastry in his mouth. Brownie was a poor substitute of a word. Dante nodded at the look on AJ's face. See, what did I tell you? AJ's hand went up under his mouth as a piece of the brownie broke off without warning. Man, that's good. Dante's arm swung around Eve's bare shoulder possessively. She's a good cook, isn't she? Surprise jumped through the enjoyment. You made these? Eve shrugged. I had some time. Hey, the troops have arrived, Jeff said, walking up behind them and clapping Dante and AJ on the shoulders. Anybody up for a friendly game of cutthroat? Never played, AJ said as he downed the last bite. Oh, it's easy, Dante said. Simple, Jeff agreed. Come on, Gabe's racking them up downstairs. Lead on, my friend, Dante said as he grabbed Eve's hand. Lead on. Jeff turned first, followed by Dante and Eve. However, just before he followed, AJ reached down and grabbed another brownie. He'd hate for them all to be gone by the time he got back. Since Dante had met her at her car out front 2 hours earlier, Eve had felt like a dog on a leash. He didn't let her go no matter where they went. It wasn't until she met up with Ashley in the basement that Dante had the good sense to let her hand go. Either that, or he knew she couldn't escape by way of the stairs without going by him first. He was playing pool with the others, and although they had invited her to join them, it had taken very little to convince them she wanted nothing more than to sit at the bar and watch. Fun party, Ash, Eve said, turning to the bar where Gabe's wife worked restocking chips. You think? Ashley pushed a wedge of wavy blonde hair from her face. I think Gabe went a little overboard on the guest list. Well, you invite this one, and this one invites that one, who just has to bring the other one. And pretty soon my house is trashed. Eve reached for a Cheeto. Just be glad we're not still in high school. Ugh, ain't that the truth? The noise level at the pool table crescendoed suddenly, yanking Eve's attention to across the room. On one side, Gabe stood, taunting Dante, who stood on the other side. Na 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 na. Lucky, 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 That was so lucky, Dante said dismissively. Lucky? That was good. Good? Ha! You want to see good? I'll show you good. Eve laughed and turned back to Ashley, who raised her eyebrows. Well, at least some of us are older than high school, Ashley said, shaking her head in mock exasperation. So, have you seen Lisa lately? Eve asked as Ashley ripped into another bag of Doritos. She was up making veggie dip in the kitchen last I saw her. Yeah! A cheer erupted at the pool table. Figures, Eve said, looking over as Gabe and Jeff high-fived each other over their apparent win. The men play while the women work. Without us, they'd starve. Without us, they probably wouldn't even notice, Eve said, nodding toward the ruckus celebration still going on behind them. That's scarily true, Ashley said. Then she looked at the bar. Well, I'd better go back up and make sure the others don't starve. You want to come? For 1 half-second, Eve considered saying yes, but when she looked over at Dante, he smiled and closed one eye as a silent sign he was happy she was there. No, I'll stay. Bravery, Ashley said sarcastically. I like that. Bravery or insanity? Eve asked. Ashley raised both hands to indicate she had no intention of choosing. You said it. With a laugh, she started for the stairs, but just before she got there, Gabe stopped her with an arm. She allowed herself to be folded into his embrace. Eve's heart turned over at the sight. Yeah, I said it all right. Just then, AJ walked up and pulled a handful of Doritos from the bowl. So are you the official chip guard tonight? Chip guard? Eve asked, her hand falling from where it had been combing through her hair absently. AJ motioned to the bowls. Well, you're not eating, and I know you're not watching, so I figured you must be guarding. Oh, the melancholy melted away from her as she bought into the joke. Yeah, that's right. I'm the chip guard, and if you go over your limit, I'm authorized to karate chop you in half. Her tone was so serious that AJ's face fell, and he stopped eating. After a moment, she laughed. I'm kidding. I don't even know karate. His eyes were saucer-like. I'm glad, because you had me worried there for a minute. Gingerly, he reached into the bowl to snag another chip, keeping his gaze on her lest she really karate chop him. So, where's your friend? Eve asked AJ as Dante racked up the pool balls noisily. AJ sat down on a stool by the wall. Melody? Eve nodded. No could come. Midnight madness at Galaxy Shoes. Out on Edgebrook? He nodded, clearly surprised that she knew it. I love that place. They've got really nice stuff. Real affordable, too. In fact, I think I got these there. She lifted her foot to reveal a silver-strapped heel and 5 perfectly painted toenails. Letting her foot drop, she reached for a Cheeto. So, what does your friend, Melody, do there? AJ shrugged. She works the floor, whatever that means. The floor. Fun. Give me a rack of clothes and a back room any day. Hey, AJ, Jeff called. You in or out? Oh, I'm in. He stood, took 1 step away, then stopped, and grabbed another chip. Eve laughed at the taking my life in my hands look he shot her. Quickly, he wiped the excess cheese on the leg of his black cargo pants. You going to play or eat? Dante asked. If I'm real lucky, both, AJ said. He slid his stick back and forth through his fingers, sizing up the table. What are we, anyway? Stripes, Gabe offered cannily from the other side. Solids, Dante quickly corrected. AJ nodded and carefully lined up his shot, taking aim at the 2-ball. 1 crack, and the 2 skittered into the side pocket. Way to go, partner, Dante said happily as he stepped over to where Eve sat and wrapped a casual arm around the back of her chair. Nothing like Friday night with friends. Nope, Eve agreed, and this time the word almost made it to her heart. At 12:15, Dante sidled up to her again. His arm had a way of finding itself a place around her. You ready? For what? Eve asked in genuine surprise. I'm on shift tomorrow at 6:30. He looked at his watch. I'm looking at 4 hours of sleep max the way it is. Oh, Eve said, suddenly seeing where this conversation was headed, and frantically she looked around for a way out. Her gaze landed on the near-empty chip bowls. I thought I'd stay and help clean up a little. Oh, he said, taken aback for a moment. Well, then at least walk me to my car? She tried to think of a logical excuse, but came up with nothing. Slowly, she slid off the stool. Okay. Dante's arm rested across her waist as they started for the steps. You're not bailing on us, are you? Gabe asked when he noticed. Early shift tomorrow, Dante said, slapping Gabe's outstretched hand. Well, don't be a stranger. Don't worry. Together, they went to the stairs where Dante turned and waved at the others. Night, guys. Night, Jeff said, smiling happily at Eve even as he said it. Night, AJ said without really looking up. He was too busy lining up his brake shot. With that, they left the basement. Upstairs was much less crowded than it had been earlier. Apparently, Dante wasn't the only one who had an early shift the next morning. Thanks, Ash, Dante said when they came upon Ashley picking up cups in the living room. Oh, you're welcome. You guys leaving? Gonna have to, but it was fun, Dante said before Eve could get a word out. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for having us, he said with an easy smile. Us. Eve hated that word. It made her feel as though she had no identity of her own. It was ironic how wonderful that word had felt during another part of her lifetime, and how horrible it felt now. They crossed through the dwindling crowd and out into the cold night air. Slowly, they strolled down the sidewalk to his shiny black Mustang. When they got to the car, he leaned against it and draped both forearms over her shoulders. So, we still on for next Saturday? He asked. The museum? She looked at him, and another face drifted through the air where he stood. Its appearance sent her heart and gaze fleeing. Yeah, I guess so. You sure you want to go? Yeah, she said, forcing the sadness down in her heart. It sounds like fun. Dante's eyes softened as he gazed at her. It's always fun when I'm with you. She tried to smile, but the mere motion hurt the center of her heart. Slowly, he leaned into her space, and in the next second, his lips were on hers. Tears sprang to her heart and to her eyes. Nothing about this felt right. Nothing. Her hand went up and landed on his chest, more to push him away, if need be, than from affection. When he broke the kiss, his gaze drilled right through her skull. You take care of yourself, he said softly. Her head nodded as her gaze found the concrete at her feet. The chill around her suddenly invaded her spirit as well, and she put her hands on her arms to ward it off. Instantly, he wrapped her in the scratchiness of his sport coat. You better get back in before you freeze. Yeah, she said, willing the tears not to find her voice. After a moment, he released her and reached for his door handle. Night, Eve. Night. She backed up and stood there on the curb, watching him get into the car. The headlights sprang to life, and then the car sliced its way into the night. Her gaze dropped from the departing taillights to the darkness of the asphalt as her spirit took a nosedive for the ground. She wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. What she did instead was sigh and turn back for the house. It made no sense to go back in. They thought she had left, but if only for a few more minutes, she needed to be with friends. So she treaded her way up the walk and to the door. Alone in the darkness was no fun. Even together in the darkness wasn't fun anymore. Light did nothing to exonerate the pitch blackness in her soul, but at least, she thought, opening the door and stepping back inside, the shell that was left of her felt better in the light. This has been White Knight, Book 2, The Courage series, written by Staci Stallings, narrated by Becky Dowdy. Copyright 2012 by Staci Stallings. Production copyright 2014, by Staci Stallings.
Never miss a second of the story. Like and subscribe to the Staci Stallings YouTube channel today.